Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Small Business Stories. You know me, your host, Dr. LL, Loralyn Mears here. And every week, I love it. We just talk about so many different things, so many different types of businesses. And in the house today, we've got Jose Berlanga coming in from Houston, a lot warmer here than in New Jersey with this winter chill we got going on. And he's the author of a book called Dirt Rich, and he's the CEO of Onyx Land Partners. Jose, welcome to the show.
Hi, Loralyn. It is great to be here. How are you?
A lot colder than you are in Houston, that's for sure, but we'll get through that.
Yes, I was bragging about having a beautiful day here today in Houston. Perfect weather.
Just not fair, not fair. But so with the Houston area, I've got to think that there's just plenty of opportunity, right? Texas, it's pretty much almost the size of half the United States. So you've got a lot of land. So talk to us about the opportunities in Houston.
Absolutely. I've been doing a lot of this for the last few decades. Houston is expanding in every direction. You are correct. One thing we have here is land. We are obviously a little bit limited to the south, which is the ocean. We have Galveston to the south, but between Houston and Galveston, there's plenty of land. And to every other direction, I keep over the years, we keep working on deals out of town, out of state, and then we go. We tell ourselves, why are we complicating our lives when there are so many opportunities here in our backyard, and we keep staying in Houston because it's a wonderful market. It's not at the most profitable because it's steady. When you talk about other states like New York or California or Florida, profit margins are incredible, but they're more speculative, in our opinion, than our Houston market, which is an end user market that just slowly grows steady but surely. We have been doing this speculative business for so many years, discovering new neighborhoods and rebuilding a lot of inner city neighborhoods. That's part of our concept.
Okay, I want to dig into that a little bit more because I think that's a really important insight. So, is it kind of the equivalent of high risk, high reward? So, for example, New York City, high volatility, high costs, pay high, might land, might not, right? High risk, high reward. But in Houston, what you're saying is because it's more predictable, it's slower and steady growth, steady expansion, good consistent metrics year over year, that it might be slightly lower risk, slightly lower cost, slightly lower rewards. But if you're like the tortoise and the hare, you're betting on the tortoise. Is that fair?
Yes, yes. That's a little bit of what I talk about in my book. Why are some cities growing more than others? What is the purpose of every part of the country? What are some of the industries that are predominantly more strong in some areas, some countries? Why is development occurring in the different parts of the world? Why do we go to Europe? Why do we go to Asia? Why do we live in Texas is something that I talk about. Houston, particularly, it's not a place where people come here to vacation. Let's put it that way. Um, there are places in the country where people buy real estate because it's beautiful, because it's fun, because they want to travel and they want to speculate. Miami, let's say, LA, and like you said, New York, for example, where prices per square foot are incredibly expensive, but the fluctuations are much more aggressive when the market changes. When people come to Houston, they come here for one purpose: to work, to build a business. This is a working town, this is a working environment. So people don't come here to speculate and to buy a second home or to buy five apartments, condos, to resell them before the building actually is completed. That level of speculation does not happen here in Houston. People come here to buy their home. It's an end user market. And that's why there's not as much profit. The supply, it's always very similar to the demand. We're always matching the demand. So therefore the profitability is tighter, but the fluctuations are very small. We don't lose values in Texas, other than a few percentage points when things get very difficult. So it's stable, and we've been doing this for many, many years now, and found it a safer way to do business, at least in our opinion.
We're going to get back to that in just a moment, but I want to first talk a little bit about Florida. So, of course, everybody's attracted to Florida. It's warm, right? Especially if you're like me and you live up here in the Northeast with the polar vortex and bomb cyclone. And I mean, just ridiculous. This winter has just been beyond. And so, oh, okay, we're attracted to Florida. But if you look at what's happening there with the compression in pricing right now, because so many properties are being reevaluated, oh, structural integrity issues, oh, condo fees, they've doubled, they've tripled. Oh, wait a minute, there's a lien and an assessment on your place because we think the building's going to collapse. So every condo owner needs to cough up an additional 25, 30, 40, 50,000. I have friends there who are losing their minds saying, "Oh my goodness, I can't sell, I can't do anything because the liens on the property until all this potential damage is rectified." You don't have those issues in Houston.
Not really. Not really. We have a much more steady process. It is a very business friendly environment. So we always catch up with demand. And again, the level of speculation is low. But the fact that there's so much land causes people to gear more towards having a single family home. Condos, high rises, although we have plenty of them, is not they're not predominant in our environment. The residential community, single family residential community subdivisions are the ones that are growing extensively in every direction, and it continues to do well. There are pockets always, there are submarkets that are suffering a little bit. Real estate is tough, and as we know, it's cyclical. Right now, it's not its ideal moment in time. But overall, we find that it keeps going. If you're building the right product and if you know what you're doing, this is the only something we talk a lot about is our business has very little barrier of entry. With very little money, a little bit of credit, you can become a builder and a developer. And it is only these downturns, these difficult moments in time that clean the market, that get rid of all the players that shouldn't be building in the first place because they're overpaying, they don't know what they're doing. They pay too much for land, they pay too much, they're too optimistic about the market. And when the market is hot, those mistakes get absorbed by the market. But when the market is difficult, you have to know what you're doing. You have to know your cost structure and you better understand the business. So this is one of those moments that although they're difficult, it's helpful and almost healthy for the industry.
So it's that, I guess, self-filtering sort of, I guess, approach that's helping getting rid of the bad actors.
Yeah,
Right.
people who shouldn't really be building and developing because they're coming in just to make a quick dollar instead of building a career.
I've purchased some of those homes purchased by those types of builders back when I lived in the Carolinas. And it was nice. One of those like instant pop-up suburbs, looked cute, started to look at things. The concrete floor had a massive crack in it with an 8-inch gap, brand new home, crack down the middle, 8-inch gap. The eaves and at the top of the roof looking at the attic, 11-inch off square. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness. But it was too late. Purchased it and everything was so nicely camouflaged and all that until you get in and start adding your little touches and all that. I'm like, wait a minute, there's animals coming in because there's 11 inches off square and that's a really big hole.
Yeah. It's incredible that in home building, which is the priciest item that most people will ever acquire, there is really not no such a thing as a brand name, as a real name behind. There are brands for just about every product out there: belts, shoes, purses, jewelry, jeans. Yet buying a home with a brand name behind it, it's something difficult. People don't look at the brand, they don't look at the builder, they just want to focus on price. And this is a mistake that a lot of home buyers make over their life. They don't research enough the technicalities of what they're buying to understand and make sure that they buy the right product.
Now, I know there's a few big ones like Toll Brothers, Ryan Homes, but short of those big, multi-billion-dollar behemoth builders, you're right. And that's an insight I never actually thought about. So, what should we, as the potential, I guess, business owner or homeowner looking to invest in land either for ourselves or in business to grow revenues, what should we watch out for? What are those warning signs?
Well, understand, I'm sorry, understand the business that you're trying to get into, understand the market, the areas that are of interest to you. Again, this is something real estate, I think it's um underappreciated. It's misunderstood. People think that it's an easy way to make money. And yes, there are amazing opportunities, but they take time. They take research. They take patience. You don't come in and buy something and sell it. Yes, there are those rare incidents where you can make quick money, but overall, doing it steady and repetitively, it's really, first of all, picking a lane. Do I want to remodel homes? Do I want to build from the ground up? Do I like to build multi-million dollar houses, entry level, commercial, residential, industrial, multifamily? What sector of the market am I interested in so that I can learn about it and have better probabilities of doing well? You cannot jump around and do a little bit of these and a little bit of that. Doesn't work that way. So that's a first step. Pick one that attracts you, learn about it, grow organically, and go from there and understand where the growth is headed. What is happening in your economic environment? What are some of the industries that are coming in? Where is the growth happening so that you can try to beat the crowd and invest in areas where you already have a little bit of information of what's happening? We do a lot of that. We try to learn where are things moving before we start investing in some of these land positions.
And is it fair that maybe you'd want to offer a cautionary tale that people need to stay local in that local environment? For example, you talked earlier about Houston really is that single family, large single family home. Beautiful. I love Houston. A lot of nice culture and all kinds of arts. And I think, a wonderful place. And then you look at Dallas, also Texas, but you see all the cranes, the high rises, the condos, like it's just the massive amount of sprawl that's happening. So is it fair that if people say, well, it's Texas, I'll just look at everything, or you're saying, don't look at Dallas. Dallas is different. This is Houston. Look at Houston. Keep it really tight.
Over the last few decades, 30 years now that I've been doing this, I've seen so many people come and go, come in, invest money and lose money. It's incredible because once again, this industry is misunderstood. It's important to specialize. People want to be all things to all people, to all of the consumers and attract different areas and get involved and invest in areas that they don't understand. You are correct. Houston is one market, Austin is another, Dallas is another, and every state and every Phoenix is a different one. And you have to understand your consumer, the product, the cost structure, and every detail. It's almost, I mean, real estate is a little bit more like other sciences, like medicine. You cannot be a cardiologist and a neurologist and a psychiatrist. Pick one and become good at it. And I think that is one of the mistakes that people make. They think that all real estate is the same, and it's not. You have to focus and perfect your craft and stick to one thing.
So I'll put you on the stage and say, then, Jose, that said, what is the one thing that you are good at and Onyx Land Partners is good at all these decades of business later? What's your special sauce?
Transitional neighborhoods. I don't need to hesitate in that. For 30 years, we have been redeveloping inner city neighborhoods that are coming back. That's how we started. That's how we developed our brand and our name. Many cities are facing a reconstruction process where, if you think about it, after the highways became the new thing, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, the infrastructure came about, everything moved to the suburbs. So the inner cities were forgotten for several decades until the late 80s, when again, everybody started liking coming into the environment, the fun, the restaurants, the activities, the nightclubs, the bars, the pubs, all the inner city lifestyle came back. And all of these neighborhoods were not very attractive back then. So little by little, a lot of builders started going back in and remodeling some of these areas. That was our concept. So we go in and try to understand what has potential, what has a good location, and and reestablishing some of these forgotten neighborhoods. That is our number one, perhaps, business or focus.
Okay. Is the trend towards completely starting over? Modern looks, I see these mixed materials on surfaces where it's not all uniform anymore. Or is the trend to stay a little more authentic and honest to what that neighborhood originally stood for, its sort of brand and chemistry and culture? Which direction are we going?
No, you want to continue. You want to stick to whatever the neighborhood represents. It's different everywhere because you have to deal with homeowners associations, with our architectural committees. Some areas have them. Some areas have some sort of a zoning or restrictions, and some areas don't. But it's I look at this two ways. One is what's allowed, and another one, even if you're allowed to do whatever you want, you also have to understand what the market wants and what sector of the market you're trying to attract. What price points, what designs, what elevations, what appeal, what look you're looking for, the economics, the type of finishes. So you have to study all those carefully. It's not just building what you want or what you think you would enjoy. This is another mistake. So a lot of builders and developers build for them and not for their audience. So they overbuild, they overspend, or they build the wrong design, like you said, in the wrong neighborhood. You have to appeal and have some level of consistency according to what's already there.
See, I love this. For anybody that hasn't connected the dots, I'm going to hit you over the head right now with that virtual 2x4. Jose earlier in the podcast talked about knowing your product, having the right product. And what he spoke about just now was product market fit. You can't build it, whatever it is, software, property, right? Multi-million dollar mansions, whatever it is. You can't build it because you think it's the right thing. It has to be right for the market and what the market wants. And that's just it. Land and construction, home construction, commercial construction is a product of a business. And I don't know that everybody can make that link.
You're correct. And not, no, the answer is no. Not everybody makes that link. Not everybody uses the correct logic. Many people go with a mentality of what do I want to build? What do I want to develop? What sounds good to me? And that's the wrong approach. You need to work backwards. This is what we've always done. First of all, who is my audience? What do they want? What do they expect? What are they willing to pay for this product? And what do this product needs to contain in order to sell for that price? Then you back your numbers into it and work that way. But many people start on the opposite direction. I thought we always start backwards. What can we sell something for? What is the market willing to do before we start making decisions and choices that are personal preferences.
because you get product market fit. And this is why you've been in business since the 80s.
Pretty much, pretty much. And we've had to learn the hard way many, many, many times. And we've seen many people that get stubborn and they just want to do what they want to do and they think they're going to come in and teach everybody how this business needs to be operated, and it's not that way. But homes and every product prices itself. Once you're out there in the market, it's when you get the reality check of whether you did a good job or not.
Exactly, right? It's what the market will bear and is it happening? Right? You can look at your own numbers and say, oh, okay. What do you think of people kind of toe dipping in the area of construction and land development with all of these? And I won't name the names. There's a lot of products out there. Oh, for only $100, you can invest and have fractional ownership in whatever the next suburb. Do you think that that's a good way for people to start to explore and understand land development as an industry? Or do you think maybe it's a distraction and not enough education is out there yet where people are at risk of losing their investment dollars? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, unfortunately, now with social media, there are many sources of investments that are dangerous, that are scary, and there are good ones. So I think research is the number one ingredient there to make an investment. If you want to not be an active participant in the industry, so I think it becomes more of a personal choice. How much of your time do you have available to invest in real estate or any other investment before you take the first step of investing your hard-earned dollars? You have to do a little bit of work in understanding what it is that you're getting into, what is your appetite, your comfort level, your risk tolerance, and work accordingly. But the technology is there, it works. The fractional ownership is out there, but not every player is reliable. That's something we have to understand. Do all the Google and search and look for reviews and try to understand what it is. But the other part is I've always been a risk taker, and I've learned through different industries the hard way that I should have learned a little more about the industry that I got involved with. And what I mean is if you are attracted to real estate and you want to invest, start small and maybe start devoting some time, even work in the industry for a little bit so that you start getting to know the players, the ins and outs, the terminology, the do's and don'ts, and little by little you start incorporating yourself into any industry. But just jumping in and putting money, and even worse, this is one that I highly disagree with. People who go and raise money for developments when they haven't done it themselves before. You never risk other people's money without really being an expert already in what it is that you do. That's something I don't even raise money. I started with nothing, and little by little build my way up, and eventually you start reinvesting your own money. I am very uncomfortable managing other people's money, and some investors put their cash in the wrong hands, and some developers are very comfortable and they don't mind taking people's money and investing it without knowing what they're doing. So just pay attention to that.
So is that a criterion that potential investors should look at and say, hey, company ABC, how many times have you done this? What's your track record? How many divisions or homes have you built? Right? That should be the first qualifying question.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what were the results and who were the people involved? And get some references on understand what these people have done in the past and what was the outcome. Yeah.
Exactly. Do you get into some of this methodology in your book, Dirt Rich?
Yes, I discuss a little bit about some of the risks, some of the the steps, and how to get into this business with as little risk as possible. I'm not a believer. I don't tell the story of how to make money quick. I don't believe in these schemes of I'm going to make you money rich and this is as easy as one, two, three. I don't believe in any of that. I will never ever give this message that it's easy, and if you just or get into real estate with no money and no time, and I think there's a lot of bad players that send this message. This is a hard industry. It's speculative. It's risky. It requires effort, energy, patience, sacrifice, tolerance, um, and time. So the whatever whoever tells you the opposite is trying to take your money. So part of my message is start small and learn it yourself and get into a small investment with a little bit of your money, with a little bit of your credit, learn the process and little by little grow. But this game of jumping in and becoming a multimillionaire overnight, stay away from it. It doesn't work that way.
Everything that you just said encapsulates the proper journey of entrepreneurship. Because get rich quick, hashtag viral bros and Lambos is nonsense. You've got to work, you've got to learn, you've got to make mistakes, you've got to recover, you've got to adjust. That's what you have to do. Be reading all of the signs and not go all in, burn the boats, give up everything and dive head first because you're going to land on your head.
And it's incredible, something that it shocks me, surprises me now where information is available and there's so much out there. I see people that try to expose this image of having had so much experience for so many years, people that I've known that just a handful of years were not in the business, that I've seen have no experience managing their own money, even less other people's money, and they're raising it successfully. I question myself, how, why, why are these people being so cavalier in starting businesses that they really have very little understanding of? So yeah. Always question what some of these players out there that seem to sell you on big opportunities and quick profits are all about, because this business is very, very cyclical, and the big players really are not looking for money. They already have their act together, interestingly enough.
And that's just it. I think you nailed it there too, that the power of social media, right? Selling aspirationally what you could be. They'll have some beautiful woman, a beautiful couple, your gorgeous pool, it's this, that. Yeah, you can be sailing every weekend and do all of these kinds of things. This
While I
wonderful,
make you millions, give me a few dollars
right,
while you're
right.
vacationing, I'm going to make you a millionaire.
Bingo. Passive income. Oh my goodness. It is the bane of my existence. I mentor a lot of young entrepreneurs and older entrepreneurs that I help. Clients range all ages, that kind of thing. I help small businesses, largely trying to figure out why they're invisible to the market, right? Trying to decode that so that they can show up in the right places with the right message so that the decision is clear, right? Because everybody
Yeah,
wants
yeah.
that. You want to drive conversion. But I have so many of these younger folks who I ask them, say, well, talk to me about your goals with this business. What do you want to do? Oh, yo, passive income, just passive income. I just, want to hit the easy button and then I can sleep and then the money comes in. Maybe I'll have some oversight, spend some time on weekend looking at it. Thinking, no, that is not how it works.
You're so right. Good things take time, and it's funny that you mentioned. I almost don't believe now in passive income. I mean, yes, it exists, but there is no such thing. Passive income, the very good ones, the very safe ones, give you a very small return in reality, and even rental income, renting homes, renting multifamily. They require work. They require maintenance. They require someone running it. And the person running it, if it's not you, is making the money because it's going to cost you a lot to hire a company to run it for you. And if you run this so-called passive income, it takes time. Phone calls, headaches, repairs. And that's a little bit about what I talk in the land sector of it, that if you know where to buy, what to buy, perhaps it has a little tear down that's carrying the cost of the property. It's always a safer way to enter the market, where you buy a little tear down, a little structure that pays a little bit of rent, and little by little you start building your portfolio. But like you said, there is no overnight success. It takes a decade to become, at least a decade to become an overnight success.
Bingo. And that is the number that so many folks are throwing out there. And I heard it first from Eric Yoon, the CEO of Zoom, when the pandemic started 6 years ago, right? Hard to believe it's been 6 years. The world has changed so much. And he was interviewed and they said, Eric, how does it feel to be an overnight success? Because he went from, 20,000 seats or something to 400,000 licenses just about overnight within a couple of days, it seems, soon as the pandemic started, at least within the first couple of weeks. And so when asked that, he said, longest frickin' decade of my life, right, to be an overnight success.
Yeah.
That's the joke.
Yeah. Success is a very interesting word and concept, and sometimes, I mean, of course, there's different meanings, and it can be perceived in different ways. But the graph goes very flat for a long time, and one day, one random day, after a lot of effort, sweat, and tears, all of a sudden that graph starts spiking, and people call it overnight success, but they don't see the years like of stress and pressure. And the more you know it up front, something that I like to always mention, the more realistic you are about that straight line for so many years, the better probabilities you have to succeed. If you understand that it's going to take trial and error and year in and year out and working long days and long hours for a very prolonged period of time, and one random day when you least expect it, things begin to do well. If you understand that up front, you have much better probabilities of doing well.
And that's just it. And I should add, even there's some like downturns, right? Where you think you're
Oh
going
yeah.
steady and then you crash and then you got to come back up to zero, right? It,
Sometimes you go negative, you go backwards. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And it's even the same with the podcast. We're in season 6, and it was, kind of steady state, crashed and steady state. I crashed in 2024, did nothing, had no season. Last year, season 5 in 2025. Started to see the growth with the bumps. And now we have guests on our waiting list waiting to record in summer 2027. So it just, right, it's just changed. And so you just got to stay the course, right? Don't give
Yeah.
up.
Congratulations on that, by the way. But you're very right. You're very right. It's a truly, I mean, it may be a cliche, but it is a marathon. If you're when you think about it, running a marathon, all you do is put one foot in front of the other one repetitively in good marathon. And not that I am a marathon runner, but I use this as an analogy in my career. You focus on taking small, repetitive, constant steps. And one day you look back and you go, oh my God, I did all of that. But when you're focusing on getting there, it's exhausting. When you're focusing on just taking solid steps and continuing to move, regardless of the results, one day you notice how far you've gone. But not until you've put the work and put the effort and the patience that you get to notice that. And when you're realistic about what it takes, you have more chances of not walking away from it, of not quitting, which is really the key to everything. Just knowing that the end is a long distance, and the probabilities improve by just simply not quitting.
Uh, well said. Now, as we're wrapping up our show, Jose Berlanga, where can people find you or get your book, Dirt Rich?
Amazon. Amazon, both of my books, The Business of Home Building, which was my first book, and now Dirt Rich. The first book was very interesting and a fun subject, by the way, because it's not about how to build homes. It's about how to build a business. It's about how to build the business that builds the homes or that builds anything else. And I had a lot of fun with that first one. This one, Dirt Rich, is about honoring land, which is the necessary raw material that makes everything happen in real estate. Everything in this multi-trillion dollar industry begins by the right selection of a piece of land to develop whatever it is that you enjoy in this business. And I'm by the way, I'm continuing to write. I'm about to publish my third book. So hopefully next time we meet, the third one will be out. It's about entrepreneurship, everything that we have talked about, the lifestyle, the choices, the psychology of putting up with this lifestyle, and what gives you not guaranteed results, but better probabilities of doing well. Because that is a reality. Nothing is a given. Nothing is guaranteed in life, and I enjoy talking about that. How to just give yourself a better shot. So Amazon and joseberlanga.com.
Perfect. We've got that. Now, last question, our signature question of the show. Throughout the show, for folks that don't have the visual experience, Jose has an incredibly interesting pendant that he's wearing. And I've been looking at that. It looks like black onyx. Am I correct?
Yes, you are correct.
Excellent. So,
First person that has ever noticed it
oh, well,
in an
okay.
interview.
Well, our question relates more to what goes on inside your closet. So, if we got a peek in there, is there a pair of footwear, accessories, clothes, something that personifies who you are? Jose Berlanga, you identify with this. This is part of your personality and its extension. If you wear it, it's, I'll stereotype. If you're in Houston, maybe it's cowboy boots, right? And why is whatever you've chosen, how does it represent you?
Order. I would have to say order is the one. Format it. I love to organize it, and even distancing clothing and this and that. I'm a big fan. I believe that the beginning of any successful life or career begins with order in systems in discipline. So I'm not a big fashion. I love clothing, by the way. Interesting that you asked that question. I Since I was a little kid, I can distinguish quality, brands, and things that were well made. So I love accessories. I'm in coats and jackets and shirts and jeans and everything. But I don't have a very specific style. What I do like, as I said, is just having a very, very organized environment.
There you go. Excellent. So you heard it here. 300 times I've asked this question and it's never the same answer, which is always fabulous. It makes it fun. So with that, folks, thank you so much, Jose Berlanga, for being on our show today. Really appreciate the insights that you shared, not only for land development, but entrepreneurial, right, journeys as well. That's really at the heart of this show. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Loralyn.